Hello, Watchman of Ephraim, or Rick. I want to weigh in on the war that's been going on in the Middle East between Israel and Gaza, and to the north, southern Lebanon, right here. And if I might go to a map, a bigger map of the Middle East, Iran with the with the military strike that Israel did to Iran. Just briefly, really, if you understand, who Israel really is over there in the Middle East, they're actually the nation of Judah. Originally, the tribe of Judah started in the Torah in Genesis, the Torah being a shadow of things to come. If I might just slide over here and do a quick review. Originally in the land of Israel, ancient Israel, there were 12 tribes. You can notice Judah, composed of the southern kingdom when they split, and then above Benjamin, you have Ephraim, which was the lead tribe of what was called the House of Israel. And then they split after King Solomon. He turned to idolatry. But anyways, Israel was promised to be the promise to Jacob, the promise to Isaac, the promise to Abraham, was that I will make of you a multitude of nations. Multitude of nations. Not just one nation or one tribe. And if I can zero in here on, if I could do a zoom here real quick. Let me zero in on Ephraim here. 500%. Look at the tribe of Ephraim. Look at the shape of Ephraim. Doesn't it look like the United States? And if you add Dan in here, if you add Dan, well, it actually looks even more like the United States. You have like Texas here, you have the Gulf of Mexico, you have Florida, you have New England, you have the dip where the Great Lakes are. You have the West Coast. Compare this picture to, but I'm going to tie this in with what I'm going to do on Syria tomorrow. Look at the United States. Oops. I'm a little, boy. Okay, first one. I just threw this up this morning. Anyways, the thing that has been Ephraim, I kind of got off because I'm just doing this, is what will be. Okay. That which is done is what will be done. So in the latter days, you have a greater end time fulfillment. The multitude of nations, okay, or a fullness of nations. The United States is Ephraim. Syria is going to prove that. And what just went down in Syria, well, I'm going to talk about it tomorrow. Anyways, what happened with this axis of resistance? Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in to the on the coast here on the coast of the Mediterranean Sea, this little strip of land that Israel gave back, what they won in the Yom Kippur War, 1973. You notice all these wars against Israel's enemies, they just beat them back all the time. Like the Six-Day War in 67 and the Yom Kippur War, where they actually grabbed the Sinai Peninsula and the Gaza Strip. I mean, a couple of simple scriptures will explain it. If you know, once again, that Israel was to become a multitude of nations, and they are now, in these last times, ready to play out Jacob's trouble once again in the day of the Lord. Ephraim being the United States, Manasseh, Great Britain, and then you have Judah over here in the Middle East. If I may slide over here again. The 12 sons of Jacob. Notice Judah, he is the fourth son. Judah, Jew. That's where the word Jew is derived from. He is in place also in these latter days. Okay, the thing that has been is what will be. And in the blessings to his 12 sons, you can see why Israel always beats back their enemies. Here's the Gaza Strip. They've just destroyed it. 40,000 Palestinians dead, over 40,000. Up here in the north, you have Hezbollah destroyed. In the last few days, they've done over 500 airstrikes in Syria, which I'm going to get to tomorrow. Here's Syria. Iran is out of Syria. The Russians are out of Syria. Something I actually said was going to happen, but in a different scenario. Now, I'll get to it. I'll touch on it. On one hand, it's an amazing thing to see, but on the other hand, well, yeah, I won't get into that. Not yet, at least. We'll see what happens. Anyways, 12 sons. I will make you a multitude of nations. And notice Joseph here, they have him sitting on the throne over Egypt, on a throne. Only Pharaoh was greater concerning the throne, a type of God the Father and Christ. Who sits over the throne of Egypt today? Who's the ruler of the world today? Of Egypt today, or Babylon? Same thing, same concept. Type of sin. Sinful world. Well, the United States. A type, well, that's Joseph ruling the world. It's a type, actually, of the Messiah. Jeremiah 31:9, the firstborn. He ultimately failed. He is a type. The anti-type being the Messiah, he will not fail. Anyways, Gaza right here, Philistia. If I can take this down somewhat. Okay. Philistia, and then up to the north. And we're at 100%. Above here, you have Lebanon. Hezbollah and Hamas. Decimated. Syria. Decimated. Bashar Assad, he's gone. Anti-Western. Now take note of that. Bashar Assad is gone. Anti-Western. Anti-USA. Anti-Israel or Judah. He's gone. I'll get into that tomorrow. I believe that this is but we're going to watch. That's why I call this channel The Watchman of Ephraim, with much sorrow and loneliness. I take that title from Hosea 9:8, which jumped out at me in September of 2016. I was riding around on my riding mower and had a Go Bible on, and the NIV version, and that scripture leaped out at me. Anyways, all the tribes are in place again in these latter days. So why did Judah? He occupies. Boy, let me go on down here. He's the one who occupies the land of Israel today. That's the tribe of Judah. It was prophesied that all these tribes would be nations, except Simeon and Reuben, scattered among the tribes of Israel, that they would be existing in the latter days. Not the lie of the Hebrew roots movement, by the way. The two-house theology and the lost sheep theology. Okay. That's a lie. Anyways, so it's Judah that always beats back their enemies. They decimated the axis of resistance, this Iranian axis of resistance. Why? Well, here's your answer. Genesis 49. Jacob's last words to his sons. He's going to bless them. And Jacob called his sons and said, "Gather together that I may tell you," now notice, "what shall befall you in the last days." No, take note of that. In the last days. In the latter days. Gather together and hear, you sons of Jacob, and listen to Israel your father. So we're going to drop down here to Judah, the fourth son. He's right here. The fourth son of Jacob, the 12 sons of Jacob. Once again, Ephraim sitting on the throne. He's sitting on the throne of the earth. So it says, I want to zero in on one part of this blessing to Judah. Judah, you are he whom your brothers shall praise. Ultimately, this is the Messiah. Now notice, your hand shall be on the neck of your enemies. There you go. Okay? Your hand shall be on the neck of your enemies. This is what will befall you in the latter days. Okay, they're always beating back their enemies. Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Iran recently. You know what they did to Iran? They flew a bunch of stealth fighters, which their little big brother gave them, Ephraim, and I'll tie this in a minute because there's going to be a separation of these two allies in the last days. Okay. You know what they did to Iran? They knocked out all of their air defenses. They're naked. They have no defenses against like fighter jets and bombers. They're naked. They flew a bunch of F-35s, stealth fighters. Flew them into Iran and bombed out all their air defenses. Okay. All right. May your hands be on the neck of your enemies. Okay. That's why they always destroy their enemies, because God first and foremost said it. He declared the end from the beginning. All right. Now let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 33. Before Moses dies, he gives a blessing to all the tribes once again. Remember, these blessings are going to come in the latter days. All right. Let's go to Judah. Right here, verse 7. And this he said of Judah. This is Moses. Hear, Lord, the voice of Judah, and bring him to his people. Now notice. Let his hands be sufficient for him, and may you help him against his enemies. Okay, this is the blessing of Judah in the latter days, whether they obeyed God or not. It's unconditional through Abraham's obedience, just like the blessings of Joseph, unconditional because of the obedience of Abraham. Trust me, it's nothing that we have done. Notice that. And may you be a help against his enemies. Let his hands be sufficient for him. Let his hands be on the neck of his enemies. Okay, this is why they laid waste Hezbollah, killed all their leaders, destroyed most of their 150,000 rockets. May your hands, look at this little country, be sufficient for you. And may you be the one who helps him against his enemies. They even laid waste all of Syria's air defenses so they can slip over into Iran. The next thing is to take out their nuclear facilities. They took out a nuclear research facility. Iran's helpless. But, my friends, it's a setup. Let's go back to Syria. Okay. It's Russia is gone from Syria. Iran is gone from Syria. Hezbollah is gone from Syria. It's going to lead into something I've been witnessing to you, only it came about in a different scenario. This is a setup. Okay. Things could change. That's why I call this channel the Watchman of Ephraim. Every day, almost every hour, I'm checking the news. I've been imprisoned. I actually wanted to quit doing this in 2016. All right. I'm going to lead in with Syria tomorrow, a Damascus Oracle update, because it's a setup. It's the beginnings of a setup. So anyways, who has God been working through to make Judah's hands sufficient and to beat back his enemies? Who supplies most of Israel or Judah's armaments? It's his little big brother. But something's going to happen to this alliance. These two friends are going to become enemies. And I do believe, and it could change, that's why it's Watchmen with great sorrow. Something's going to happen to these two allies in the last days, which I'll review tomorrow. And Judah's going to have to cry out for protection from a different nation, from a different source of military power. That, my friend, will be the Antichrist. Anyways, that's your answer to why Israel, or Judah, that's their real name, laid waste the axis of resistance. Okay? We're in the latter days. That's part of the blessing given to Judah. May his hands be sufficient against his enemies. Paraphrasing. May his hands be on the neck of his enemies. Okay? So, thank you for your time and thank you for listening.